The great hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with worried voices. Admiral Zexstar stood at the center of the circular chamber, his forearms crossed as he faced the representatives of 12 different species. The holographic display behind him showed a small blue planet spinning slowly in the darkness of space. 7 expeditions, Zexstar said, his voice echoing through the chamber. 7 different species, all gone without a trace. Council member Thizes leaned forward, her scaled head tilting. You speak of the 3rd planet in the Sol system, the one the inhabitants call Earth. Yes, Zexstar touched a control pad. The display changed to show a list of names and dates. The Vrex swarm was first 50 cycles ago. They sent 10,000 ships. Not one returned. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Vrex were known throughout the galaxy as brutal conquerors. Their bioships could strip a planet bare in days. Then came the Keth Empire. 35 cycles passed, Zexstar continued. Their elite battle fleet vanished completely. The last message we received said they were engaging primitive vessels. Commander Velanash spoke from his seat near the back. What about the Zephyrian Collective? Gone, 20 cycles ago. They sent their entire invasion force to claim this Earth for their breeding colonies. Zexstar's voice grew darker. The silence that followed lasted for months. When we sent probe ships to investigate, they found nothing. No debris, no energy signatures, no trace that a battle had even occurred. The chamber fell quiet. Everyone knew the Zephyrians. They were methodical, careful. They planned their invasions for years before striking. If they had failed so completely, something was very wrong. 4 other species have tried since then, Zexstar said. The Mordic clans, the Silvari Dominion, the Geth Swarms, and most recently, the Nexus Federation, all met the same fate. Council Leader Vrex spoke from the high platform. What do we know about this planet? What makes it so dangerous? Zexstar activated another display. It showed images of Earth taken from long-range sensors. Green and blue continents, white clouds, peaceful cities scattered across the surface. This is what confuses us, Zexstar said. Our scans show a primitive civilization. They have barely left their home planet. Their technology appears to be centuries behind our most basic systems. They fight wars with chemical explosives and metal projectiles. Then how do they defeat our most powerful fleets? Asked Thizes. We don't know. That's why I'm proposing something different. Velanash stood up. He was tall, even by his species standards, with dark skin that seemed to absorb light. His people were known as excellent scouts and spies. I volunteer to lead a reconnaissance mission, he said. Not an invasion, not a conquest, just observation. The chamber erupted in debate. Some council members argued it was too dangerous. Others said it was a waste of time. But Velanash raised his hand for silence. Every species that attacked Earth went in expecting an easy victory, he said. They brought massive fleets and prepared for total war. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe we need to be smarter. Zexstar nodded slowly. What do you have in mind? A small ship with the best stealth technology we have. A tiny crew of volunteers. We observe from a distance, record everything, and return with information. No weapons. No aggressive actions. Just eyes and sensors. Council Leader Vrex considered this. The risk is still enormous. If you vanish like the others, we learn nothing. But if I succeed, we finally get answers, Velanash replied. We need to know what happened to our people. We need to understand why this one small planet has become a graveyard for our fleets. The debate continued for hours. Some council members wanted to declare Earth Forbidden's territory and warn all species to stay away. Others argued for a massive combined fleet that would overwhelm whatever defenses the humans had. But in the end, they agreed to Velanash's plan. It was safer than a full invasion and smarter than doing nothing. Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, Colonel Jake Murphy sat in the deep underground facility known as NORAD. Banks of computers surrounded him, their screens showing data from satellites and sensors scattered throughout the solar system. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez approached his station. "Sir, we're detecting unusual signals from the outer system." Jake looked up from his coffee. "What kind of signals?" "Quantum fluctuations consistent with faster-than-light travel," she said. "The patterns match the database from previous contacts." Captain Ben Carter joined them at the monitoring station. "How many ships this time?" "Just one, sir. Small vessel, highly advanced stealth capabilities." Amy pulled up a tactical display. "If our new sensors weren't online, we never would have detected it." Jake smiled grimly. "Send word to the President. Tell her it looks like we have another visitor." 3 weeks later, Velenash's ship entered the outer edge of the Sol system. His crew of 5 specialists worked quietly at their stations, recording everything their sensors detected. "Interesting," said Science Officer Keth as she studied the data. "The asteroid belt shows signs of mining operations, but they appear abandoned." "What about the outer planets?" Velenash asked. "Several moons show artificial structures, but they're not giving off any energy signatures. They look like old research stations." Velenash frowned. "Or they're made to look that way." As they moved deeper into the system, their sensors picked up radio signals from Earth. The transmissions seemed normal for a primitive civilization. News broadcasts, entertainment programs, commercial advertisements. They talk about their space program like it's a great achievement to reach their own moon. Communications Officer Zeph reported. "According to these broadcasts, they've only sent a few small probes to the nearest planets." "Keep monitoring," Velenash ordered. "Something doesn't feel right." He was correct to be suspicious. Hidden deep beneath the mountains of Colorado, President Lisa Kane sat in a secure briefing room with her top military advisors. "How long until they reach scanning range of Earth?" she asked. General Rick Martinez checked his tablet. 18 hours at their current speed. "Are our people ready?" "Protocol 7 has been active for 3 weeks," Admiral Chris Parker replied. "All deep space assets are in position. Surface installations are running minimal power signatures. To their sensors will look exactly like what they expect to see." President Kane nodded. "Good. Let's make sure this one goes as smoothly as the others." In his ship, Velenash had no idea that his every move was being tracked by sensors, far more advanced than anything his people possessed. He didn't know that the humans had been watching his approach since the moment he entered their solar system. He thought he was the hunter, carefully observing his prey from a safe distance. He had no idea that he was walking into the most sophisticated trap in galactic history. Velenash's ship moved closer to Earth, its stealth systems hiding it from what the crew believed were primitive detection methods. For 2 days, they observed the blue planet from a safe distance, recording everything their sensors could detect. "The population centers are larger than we expected," Science Officer Keth reported. "I'm counting over 200 major cities, with several containing millions of inhabitants." "What about military installations?" Velenash asked. "That's strange. Sir, I'm detecting very few obvious military bases. Most of their armed forces seem to be scattered in small groups across the planet." Communications Officer Zeph looked up from her station. "Sir, I'm picking up some unusual transmissions. They're encrypted, but the patterns are more sophisticated than their public broadcasts suggest." Velenash studied the data on his screen. Something felt wrong. The humans' technology seemed inconsistent. Their public communications were primitive, but some of their encrypted signals showed mathematical concepts that should be beyond their capabilities. "Take us closer," he ordered. "I want detailed scans of their major population centers." As the ship moved into closer orbit, more inconsistencies appeared. The humans had satellites in orbit, but many of them were much more advanced than their public space program suggested. Some orbital installations were completely hidden from normal sensors and only appeared on their most sophisticated detection equipment. Below on Earth's surface, President Lisa Kane reviewed the morning briefing in the White House Situation Room. Admiral Chris Parker pointed to a map showing the alien ship's position. "They're being very careful," he said, "staying at maximum sensor range, trying not to be detected." Classic reconnaissance pattern. How long before they figure out the truth? President Kane asked. Dr. Kate Sullivan, the government's top xenobiologist, smiled. "Based on previous encounters, they usually catch on when they try to scan our military installations directly. The power signatures are impossible to hide completely." General Rick Martinez activated a wall display showing defensive positions around the globe. All hunter-killer teams are in position. Space Command reports the outer ring is ready to activate on your order. "Not yet," President Kane said. "Let them get a little closer. We want to learn as much as possible about their technology before we make contact." Ambassador Helen Brooks, who had negotiated with 6 different alien species over the past 20 years, leaned forward in her chair. "What's our approach going to be this time? Friendly first contact or immediate capture? Let's try diplomacy first," President Kane decided. "We've learned that most species respond better when they think they have a choice." Back in space, Velanash was growing more confused by the minute. His detailed scans of Earth were revealing things that made no sense. The planet's industrial capacity was enormous, but it was carefully hidden beneath what appeared to be civilian infrastructure. "Sir," Keth called out urgently, "I'm detecting massive energy sources beneath several mountain ranges. The power output is incredible, but it's being masked by some kind of dampening field." "Show me." Velanash ordered. The display revealed underground installations that stretched for miles beneath the surface. The energy signatures were consistent with advanced manufacturing facilities and weapons research centers. "This doesn't match their technology level at all," Velanash muttered. "How can they have power sources this advanced, but still use chemical rockets to reach space?" Before anyone could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Tactical Officer Mora's voice was tight with fear. "Sir, we're being scanned by multiple sources, high-powered sensors, military grade. Impossible. They shouldn't be able to detect us through our stealth systems." "Sir, contact bearing 27 Mark IV, Mora reported. "It's a ship, and it's right next to us." Velanash spun to look at the main display. A sleek vessel had appeared less than a kilometer away, as if it had materialized out of empty space. It was clearly human-built, but its design was decades ahead of anything their intelligence suggested the humans possessed. "How did they find us?" Zeph whispered. The human ship opened a communication channel. A calm voice spoke in perfect galactic standard, the universal language used by all spacefaring civilizations. "Unknown vessel, this is Captain Tony Williams of the United Earthship Guardian. Please identify yourself and state your intentions." In this system, the bridge fell silent. The humans weren't supposed to know galactic standard. They weren't supposed to have ships that could sneak up on advanced alien scouts. They weren't supposed to be able to detect stealth technology that had fooled a dozen other species. Velanash made a decision. "Open a channel. This is Commander Velanash of the Galactic Council Reconnaissance Vessel Seeker. We come in peace to establish first contact with your species. Welcome to the Sol System, Commander Velanash. Please follow our ship to Deep Space Station Alpha for formal first contact procedures." Another ship appeared on their sensors, then another. Within minutes, 6 human vessels surrounded the alien scout ship. All of them showed technology that should not exist. "We seem to have little choice," Velanash said quietly. The human ships escorted them to a space station that hadn't been there an hour earlier. It was massive, clearly designed for diplomatic meetings, with docking bays that could accommodate ships from many different species. How many first contacts have they had? Keth wondered aloud. As they docked, Velanash noticed something that made his blood run cold. The station's corridors showed wear patterns consistent with heavy use over many years. This wasn't humanity's first contact with alien species. It might not even be their 20th. Ambassador Helen Brooks met them at the airlock, accompanied by Admiral Chris Parker and Dr. Kate Sullivan. All three humans wore translation devices and seemed completely comfortable with alien contact procedures. "Welcome to Deep Space Station Alpha," Ambassador Brooks said. "We're honored to meet representatives of the Galactic Council." The formal meeting took place in a conference room designed to accommodate multiple species. The humans provided atmosphere and gravity settings that were perfect for Velanash's people, suggesting they had detailed knowledge of his species' biological requirements. "We're curious about the Galactic Council," Dr. Sullivan said. "What brings you to our system?" Velanash decided to be partially honest. "We've been monitoring radio signals from your planet for some time. We wanted to establish peaceful contact with your species." "That's wonderful," Ambassador Brooks replied. "We've been hoping for something like this." Admiral Parker leaned forward. "We have some questions about galactic civilization. For instance, we're curious about the various species that make up the Council." "Of course. There are currently 47 member species," Velanash said. "Each contributes to our shared knowledge and security." Dr. Sullivan pulled out a tablet and showed him a display. "Would any of these species be Council members?" Velanash looked at the screen and felt his heart stop. The display showed detailed images of Rex warriors, Keth battle cruisers, and Zephyrian bioforms. At the bottom of each image was a date and the word "captured." "Where did you get these images?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "Oh, we've had visitors before," Dr. Sullivan said casually. "We've been studying them for decades. Would you like to see our research facilities?" Velanash stood up quickly. "I think there's been a misunderstanding. We need to return to our ship." "Of course," Ambassador Brooks said. "But first, there's someone who'd like to meet you." The door opened and a figure walked in that made Velanash's mind reel. It was clearly a member of his own species, but wearing a human military uniform. "Hello, Commander," the figure said in their native language. "My name is Captain Beth Martinez, United Earth Space Command. I was wondering when the Council would send another scout ship." "That's impossible," Velanash whispered. "There have never been any of our people on Earth." Captain Martinez smiled sadly. "I was part of a secret scouting mission sent here 15 years ago. Just like you, the humans were very persuasive about the benefits of cooperation." Velanash looked around the room and realized the trap had already closed. The humans weren't primitive at all. They had been playing a game that was decades ahead of anything the Galactic Council had imagined. "What do you want from us?" he asked. President Kane's voice came through the communication system. "Right now, Commander, we just want to talk. Earth has been part of galactic civilization for much longer than you realize. We think it's time the Council learned the truth about what really happens when species try to conquer us." Through the station's windows, Velanash could see more human ships appearing as their stealth systems deactivated. There were dozens of them, all armed with weapons that seemed to blend technologies from multiple alien species. "You see, Commander," Ambassador Brooks explained, "every species that has visited us has taught us something new. We're very grateful students." Velanash sat in the conference room, his mind racing as he processed what the humans had revealed. The diplomatic meeting had turned into something much more dangerous than he had expected. Around the table, the human delegation watched him with expressions that seemed friendly but held a predatory edge. "I need to contact my ship," Velanash said, reaching for his communication device. "Of course," Ambassador Brooks replied. "But I should mention that we've been jamming long-range communications since you entered our inner system. For security reasons, you understand." The alien commander's hand froze. "You're holding us prisoner." "Not at all," Admiral Parker said. "You're free to return to your ship whenever you like. We just want to make sure our conversation remains private until we've had a chance to get to know each other better." Dr. Sullivan activated a wall display that showed a map of the solar system. Red dots appeared throughout the outer regions, marking positions that hadn't been visible on their original scans. "These are our defensive installations," she explained. "We've had quite a bit of time to prepare since we started receiving visitors. Each species that's come to visit has helped us improve our systems." Velanash studied the display with growing horror. The entire solar system was filled with hidden bases, weapon platforms, and what appeared to be massive ship construction facilities. Earth wasn't a primitive world with basic defenses. It was the center of a military network that stretched from the sun to the outer planets. "How long have you been planning this?" he asked. "About 50 years, President Kane's voice said through the speakers. "Ever since we intercepted the first Vrex communications planning our conquest, we realized we had two choices: panic and try to run or get ready for a fight." "But your technology," Velanash protested. "Your broadcasts show a primitive civilization that has barely left its home planet." Captain Martinez, a member of his own species wearing a human uniform, laughed. "The broadcasts are for show. Earth learned long ago that the best defense is to look like easy prey while actually being the most dangerous predator in the area." Ambassador Brooks stood up. "Commander, I think it's time we showed you around. You'll understand better if you see what we've accomplished." The tour began on the space station's observation deck. Through the transparent walls, Velanash could see dozens of human ships moving in organized formations. Some were clearly built using captured alien technology, while others showed design elements from multiple species. "We call them our fusion fleet," Admiral Parker explained. "Each ship combines the best technologies from every species that has visited us. Vrex bioarmor, Kef energy shields, Zephyrian quantum engines. We've learned to improve on all of them." They moved to a section of the station that housed captured alien equipment. Velanash recognized weapons, computers, and ship components from every failed invasion force of the past 50 years. "We're very good at reverse engineering," Dr. Sullivan said. "It usually takes us about 6 months to understand a new technology, and another year to improve on it." The next stop was what the humans called the Intelligence Center. The walls were covered with detailed information about every known species in the galaxy. Star maps showed trade routes, military bases, and political structures that the Galactic Council considered top secret. "How do you know all this?" Velanash asked. "We've had excellent teachers," Ambassador Brooks replied. "Every species that has visited us has been very helpful in filling in the gaps in our knowledge." They were led to an elevator that took them deep underground. When the doors opened, Velanash found himself in a vast facility that stretched as far as he could see. Thousands of human technicians worked at stations throughout the complex, analyzing alien technology and designing new weapon systems. "This is Research Complex 7, Dr. Sullivan explained. "We have facilities like this on 6 continents. Each one focuses on different aspects of the technologies we've acquired. In one section, humans were working on captured Vrex bioships, learning to grow living spacecraft that could repair themselves in battle. Another area showed teams reverse engineering Keth plasma weapons, creating human versions that were smaller and more powerful than the originals. But the real breakthrough came when we realized that most alien species make the same mistakes," Admiral Parker said. "They assume primitive means helpless. They send massive fleets expecting easy victories. They never consider that the prey might be more dangerous than the predator. The tour continued for hours. Valanash saw underground cities that could house millions of people during an invasion. He observed massive factories that could build. Warships faster than most species could train crews to operate them. He watched human pilots training in simulators that perfectly recreated the flight characteristics of captured alien fighters. "How many ships do you have?" he asked. "Enough," Admiral Parker replied. "We've been building our fleet for decades. Every captured alien vessel gives us new ideas for improvements." They returned to the surface as Earth's sun was setting. The space station's windows showed a view of the planet that looked peaceful and normal, with lights beginning to appear in cities across the night side. "It looks so innocent from here," Valanash said. "That's the idea," Ambassador Brooks replied. "We've worked very hard to maintain that appearance." Captain Martinez joined them at the window. "Commander, I need to tell you something important. The ship you came in isn't going home." Valanash spun around. "What do you mean?" "Your crew is safe," Martinez assured him. "But the ship and all its technology will be staying here for study. We're particularly interested in your stealth systems and long-range sensors." "You can't do this." "The Galactic Council will send search parties. We're counting on it," Admiral Parker said. "We've learned that the best way to get new visitors is to make sure the old ones don't return to tell anyone what they found." Dr. Sullivan activated a holographic display that showed the positions of human ships throughout the solar system. "Right now, your vessel is surrounded by our fastest interceptors. If your crew tries to run, they won't make it past the orbit of Mars." "What about my transmission to the Council before we docked?" Valanash asked desperately. "We allowed that." "One through?" Ambassador Brooks said. "But we edited it slightly. The Council received a message saying you had arrived safely and were beginning peaceful first contact negotiations. They're expecting regular updates." "Updates that will never come," Valanash realized. "Oh, they'll come," Captain Martinez said. "But we'll be sending them. We've gotten very good at mimicking the communication patterns of different species." President Kane's voice came through the communication system again. "Commander, we're going to offer you the same choice we've given to representatives of other species. You can cooperate with us willingly and help bridge the gap between human and galactic civilization, or you can remain as our guests while we learn what we need to know through other methods." Valanash looked around at the humans surrounding him. Their expressions were patient but determined. He realized that this wasn't a negotiation. It was a carefully planned capture that had been perfected through dozens of previous encounters. "What happened to the others?" he asked. "The crews from the other ships?" "Some chose cooperation," Dr. Sullivan replied. "They're living comfortably on Earth, helping us understand galactic technology and culture. Others preferred to remain in our research facilities. They're treated well, but they don't have the same freedoms." "And the ones who tried to fight?" Ambassador Brooks was quiet for a moment. "There haven't been many survivors from the groups that chose violence. Humans can be very efficient when we need to be." Through the station's communication system, Valanash could hear transmissions from his ship. His crew was growing worried about the communications blackout and the presence of so many human vessels. "They're preparing to run," Admiral Parker observed, listening to the intercepted alien communications. "Let them try," President Kane said. "It's been 6 months since our pilots have had live training exercises." Valanash watched in horror as a tactical display showed his ship powering up its engines. Around it, human fighters began moving into attack positions with a precision that spoke of years of practice. "Please," he said, "don't hurt my crew." "That's entirely up to them," Admiral Parker replied. "If they surrender now, they'll be treated as honored guests. If they run, our pilots will disable their ship and bring them back if they try to fight. He didn't need to finish the sentence. Valanash had seen enough of Earth's military capabilities to know that his small scout ship wouldn't last 5 minutes against the human fleet. "I'll cooperate," he said quietly. "Just don't harm my people." Ambassador Brooks smiled. "That's very wise, Commander. Welcome to Earth." On the tactical display, Valanash watched his ship power down its engines and accept escort back to the docking bay. Another alien crew had learned the hard way that Earth was not the primitive world it appeared to be. And somewhere in the depths of space, the Galactic Council waited for a report that would never come. 2 weeks after his capture, Valanash found himself in a transport vehicle heading toward the Nevada desert. The human agents escorting him had been polite but firm about the necessity of this trip. Agent Mike Stevens, who seemed to be in charge of alien affairs, sat across from him in the comfortable passenger compartment. "Where are you taking me?" Valanash asked for the 3rd time. "Somewhere you can meet others like yourself," Stevens replied. "People who have been asking the same questions you have." The vehicle stopped at what appeared to be a small military checkpoint in the middle of nowhere. After passing through several security stations, they descended in an elevator that seemed to go down forever. When the doors finally opened, Valanash stepped into a vast underground complex that took his breath away. The facility stretched as far as he could see in every direction. Thousands of humans worked at stations throughout the complex, but what caught his attention were the other figures moving among them. He saw members of species he recognized from Galactic Council records, all wearing human-style clothing and apparently working alongside their captors. "Welcome to Deep Storage Facility Omega," Stevens said. "This is where we keep our most valuable guests and research materials." Dr. Linda Shaw approached them, flanked by several other humans in white coats. She was an older woman with gray hair and sharp eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. "Commander Valanash," she said, extending her hand in the human greeting gesture. "I'm Dr. Shaw, director of this facility. I've been looking forward to meeting you." "What is this place?" Valanash asked. "Think of it as a combination research center, diplomatic facility, and secure residence," Dr. Shaw replied. "We've been operating here for over 30 years, ever since the first alien visitors helped us understand that we needed a place to house long-term guests." They walked through corridors lined with laboratories and living spaces. Through transparent walls, Valanash could see members of different alien species working on various projects. Some appeared to be cooperating willingly, while others seemed to be under closer supervision. "How many are here?" he asked. "Currently, we house representatives from 23 different species," Dr. Shaw said. "Some have been with us for decades. Others arrived more recently." They stopped at a large common area where several aliens were gathered around tables, eating and talking. Valanash recognized a Frex warrior, 2 Keth engineers, and what appeared to be a Zephyrian queen. "Commander Valanash," a familiar voice called out. He turned to see Crixtel, a fellow officer from his own species who had been reported missing during a deep space patrol 5 years earlier. Crixtel approached with a slight limp, but seemed otherwise healthy. "Crixtel? But you were declared dead after your patrol ship disappeared." "Not dead," Crixtel replied. "Just ... relocated. The humans found me during one of their scouting missions into our territory." Dr. Shaw gestured for them to sit at one of the tables. "Commander, I think it's time you understood the full scope of what's been happening in this part of the galaxy." She activated a holographic display that showed a 3-dimensional map of local star systems. Red markers indicated the locations of various alien homeworlds, while blue markers showed human installations. 52 years ago, we intercepted communications from the Vrex swarm planning to invade Earth," Dr. Shaw began. "At first, Our leaders considered trying to hide or evacuate the planet. But some very smart people realized we had a better option. What option? Valanash asked. We could use our apparent weakness as a weapon, she replied. Think about it. From a galactic perspective, Earth looked like the perfect target. A single planet with a primitive species that had barely developed spaceflight. No obvious defenses. Rich resources. Why wouldn't aggressive species want to conquer us? The display changed to show the timeline of alien invasions over the past 50 years. Each attack gave us new technology, new intelligence about galactic civilization, and most importantly, new teachers, Dr. Shaw continued. The Vrex taught us about biotechnology. The Keth showed us advanced energy systems. The Zephyrians helped us understand quantum mechanics. Colonel Janet Adams joined the conversation. She was a stern-looking woman who carried herself with military precision. What Dr. Shaw isn't mentioning is that we haven't just been learning, Adams said. We've been actively scouting the galaxy for decades. She activated another display showing human ships that looked nothing like Earth's official space program. These vessels were sleek, advanced, and clearly built for long-range operations. While alien species were disappearing after attacking Earth, we were sending our own ships to visit their homeworlds, Adams explained. We've been mapping the galaxy, studying alien societies, and preparing for the day when we would take our place among the stars. Dr. Tom Bradley, a man with kind eyes but a serious expression, leaned forward. Commander, what do you think happens to a species when their invasion fleets simply vanish? Valanash considered the question. They would assume the fleet was destroyed. They might send another force, or they might decide the target was too dangerous. Exactly. And what if their scouting missions also disappeared? They would become cautious, maybe avoid the area entirely. That's what most species have done, Bradley said. But a few have gotten curious. They've sent probe ships to try to figure out what happened to their missing fleets. Major Sandra Lewis activated a new display showing deep space monitoring stations positioned throughout the local stellar region. We've been tracking every ship movement within 50 light years of Earth for the past 30 years. We know when someone is planning to visit us before they've even left their home system. You've been watching us, Relanash realized. We've been watching everyone, Lewis confirmed. Your mission was detected 6 months before you reached our solar system. We knew your ship's specifications, crew complement, and mission objectives before you crossed into our territory. Dr. Shaw stood up and gestured for Velanash to follow her to another section of the facility. They passed through areas that looked like small cities, complete with parks, restaurants, and recreational facilities. Many of our guests have chosen to make Earth their permanent home, she explained. We offer them comfortable lives, meaningful work, and the chance to be part of something larger than any single species could achieve alone. They stopped at a viewing window that looked into a massive hangar. Inside, Velanash could see ships that combined technologies from dozens of different species. Human engineers worked alongside alien specialists, creating vessels that were more advanced than anything in the known galaxy. This is what we've really been building, Dr. Shaw said. A fusion of the best technologies and knowledge from every species that has visited us. Agent Stevens joined them at the window. Commander, Earth stopped being just a human world decades ago. We're now the center of a new kind of civilization. One that learns from everyone and excludes no one who's willing to cooperate. But what about the species who didn't cooperate? Velanash asked. The humans exchanged glances. Dr. Bradley answered carefully. Some species are more aggressive than others. When diplomatic solutions aren't possible, we've had to take more direct action. The display changed to show star systems that Velanash recognized as former alien territories. But the markers now showed them under human control. The Mordic clans were particularly violent, Colonel Adams explained. After their third invasion attempt, we decided that a preemptive response was necessary. Their homeworld is now administered by a joint human-alien council. You conquered them? We liberated their slaves and replaced their aggressive leadership with more reasonable representatives, Dr. Shaw corrected. The Mordic people are much happier now. Velanash stared at the display showing 17 star systems that had been quietly absorbed into Earth's growing sphere of influence. Each one had been the homeworld of a species that had tried to conquer Earth. How long have you been planning this? He asked. From the very beginning, Dr. Shaw replied. Earth's leaders realized that if we were going to survive in a hostile galaxy, we needed to become the most dangerous predator in our region of space. She activated a final display that showed the current state of human expansion. Blue markers indicated human-controlled systems, while yellow showed systems under human influence or protection. We now control or influence over 40 star systems. Dr. Shaw said, our population includes representatives from 31 different species. Our technology combines the best innovations from across the galaxy. And the Galactic Council has no idea, Velanash said quietly. The Council knows exactly what we want them to know, Agent Stevens replied. As far as they're concerned, Earth is still a primitive world that somehow manages to destroy invasion fleets through luck or unknown defensive systems. Dr. Shaw led them to a final viewing area that showed a massive assembly facility. Hundreds of ships were under construction, each one more advanced than anything the Galactic Council possessed. We've been preparing for the day when we reveal ourselves to the galaxy, she said, but on our terms, not as supplicants begging for acceptance. Velanash sat down heavily in a nearby chair. The scope of what the humans had accomplished was staggering. In 50 years, they had gone from a primitive civilization to the secret rulers of a significant portion O. 3 months later, Velanash stood in the command center of what humans called Deep Space Command Alpha. The facility was hidden inside a hollowed-out asteroid in the outer solar system, and it coordinated human operations across the galaxy. Admiral Mary Robinson and Captain Bob Wilson had brought him here for what they called the final briefing. Are you ready to see the full scope of what we've built? Admiral Robinson asked. Velanash nodded. Over the past months, he had seen pieces of Earth's secret empire, but he suspected there was much more that remained hidden. The main display activated, showing the three-dimensional map of the local galactic region. What Velanash saw made him step backward in shock. Blue markers indicating human presence or control covered nearly a quarter of the displayed space. This can't be accurate, he whispered. Every marker represents either a human installation, a system under our protection, or a world where we have significant influence, Captain Wilson explained. We've been very busy for the past 50 years. Fleet Admiral Steve Collins joined them at the display. He was a distinguished man with gray hair and the bearing of someone who had commanded fleets in dozens of battles. Commander, what you're looking at is the result of the most successful expansion in galactic history, Collins said. And most of the galaxy doesn't even know it happened. The display zoomed in on specific systems. Admiral Robinson pointed to a cluster of worlds near the galactic core. These systems belonged to the Kef Empire until 15 years ago, she said. After their invasion fleet disappeared at Earth, we sent follow-up missions to their homeworld. What we found was a society on the verge of civil war due to resource shortages and military failures. We offered assistance, Captain Wilson continued. Food supplies, medical aid, and advanced technology in exchange for mining rights and research cooperation. Within 5 years, their government had become dependent on Earth support. You conquered them without firing a shot, Velanash realized. We liberated them from a failing system and offered them something better, Admiral Robinson corrected. The Keth people are much happier now. They have access to better health care, education, and economic opportunities than they ever had under their old empire. Fleet Admiral Collins activated another section of the display. The same pattern has been repeated throughout this region of the galaxy. Species that attacked Earth often had underlying problems that made them aggressive in the first place. Resource shortages, overpopulation, political instability. We've been solving those problems. Vice Admiral Karen White approached the group. She carried a tablet showing military deployment information. Commander, I want to show you something. That will help you understand the current strategic situation. She said that the display changed to show real-time positions of ships throughout the galaxy. Human vessels appeared as blue dots, while alien ships showed up in different colors based on their species of origin. How many ships do you have? Velanash asked. Currently, the combined Earth Defense Force and allied fleets include over 12,000 vessels. Admiral White replied. Most of them are stationed throughout our territory, maintaining security and supporting development projects. 12,000 ships, Velanash repeated. The entire Galactic Council fleet barely numbers 8,000. That's because we've been building continuously for decades, while Council species spent their resources fighting each other. Fleet Admiral Collins explained. We also have the advantage of combining technologies from multiple species. Captain Wilson activated a tactical display showing ship specifications. Our newest vessels combine Vrex bioregeneration, Keth energy systems, Zephyrian quantum drives, and human engineering. They're faster, stronger, and more versatile than anything else in the galaxy. The briefing continued for hours as the humans revealed the true extent of their operations. They had established trade networks that rivaled the Council's official commerce routes. They operated intelligence services that monitored every major government in the galaxy. They had even placed agents in key positions within alien governments and military organizations. How many of your people are living on alien worlds? Velanash asked. About 2 million humans are currently working off-world, Admiral Robinson replied. Most of them appear to be members of the local alien species, thanks to advanced surgical and genetic modifications. Dr. Paul Garcia joined the briefing via holographic communication from a facility on Earth. Commander, we've made remarkable advances in biological adaptation technology. Our agents can pass as members of virtually any humanoid species. You've been infiltrating galactic society for decades, Velanash said. We've been participating in galactic society, Dr. Garcia corrected. The difference is that we've been doing it on our own terms, rather than as junior members begging for acceptance. Commander Nina Peterson appeared on another communication screen. She was speaking from what appeared to be the bridge of a ship in deep space. Admiral, we've completed the survey of the Nexus Federation territory, she reported. Their military is concentrated around their 3 core worlds, leaving their outer colonies essentially undefended. Thank you, Commander, Admiral Robinson replied. Proceed to Phase 2 of the operation. Velanash felt a chill. What's Phase 2? Fleet Admiral Collins gestured to a section of the display showing Nexus Federation space. The Nexus was the most recent species to attack Earth. Their invasion fleet disappeared 8 months ago. Since then, they've been mobilizing their entire military to launch a massive retaliatory strike. They're planning to attack Earth with everything they have, Captain Wilson added. Over 3,000 ships, including their most advanced dreadnoughts. That's a significant threat, Velanash observed. It would be if we were still pretending to be a primitive world with limited defenses, Admiral White said. But we've decided it's time to stop playing that game. The display changed to show human fleet positions throughout Nexus space. Velanash counted at least 50 groups of ships, each one positioned near important Nexus installations. You're already in their territory, he realized. We've been in their territory for 3 months, Fleet Admiral Collins confirmed. While they've been gathering their forces for an attack on Earth, we've been positioning our fleets around their homeworlds. Admiral Robinson activated a communication channel. All fleet commanders, this is Deep Space Command. Execute Operation Revelation. The display lit up with tactical information as human fleets throughout the galaxy began moving simultaneously. It wasn't just an attack on the Nexus Federation. Human forces were taking action in dozens of star systems at once. What's happening? Velinash asked. We're revealing ourselves to the galaxy, Admiral Robinson replied. For 50 years, we've been the secret power behind galactic events. Today, we step into the light. Communication signals began flooding the command center as human forces made contact with alien governments throughout the region. The messages were identical. Earth was claiming its rightful place as a galactic power and offering existing governments the choice of cooperation or replacement. Captain Wilson pulled up a communication from the Galactic Council chamber. The emergency session was in chaos as reports came in from across the galaxy. Human fleets had appeared simultaneously near the homeworlds of 17 different species. The Council is demanding an explanation, Wilson reported. They'll get one, Admiral Robinson said. She activated a broad-spectrum communication system that would reach every inhabited world in the local galactic region. Attention, people of the galaxy. Her voice broadcast across thousands of star systems. This is Admiral Mary Robinson of the United Earth Defense Force. For too long, this region of space has been plagued by war, resource conflicts, and the oppression of weaker species by stronger ones. The message continued as Robinson explained Earth's true history and capabilities. She described how aggressive species had unknowingly taught humanity everything needed to become the dominant power in the region. We offer a new way forward, Robinson concluded. A galactic society based on cooperation, shared knowledge, and mutual prosperity. Species that choose to join us will benefit from technologies and opportunities beyond anything the old system could provide. Those who choose to maintain the old ways of aggression and exploitation will find themselves facing a power they cannot match. Velinash watched the reactions coming in from across the galaxy. Some governments immediately requested negotiations. Others declared their intention to resist. A few simply went silent, apparently too shocked to respond. What happens to the Galactic Council? He asked. That depends on them, Fleet Admiral Collins replied. If they're willing to adapt to the new reality, they can continue to exist as a diplomatic forum. If they try to organize military resistance, they'll discover that their combined fleets are no match for our capabilities. The tactical display showed the Nexus Federation's attack fleet, still moving toward Earth, but now hopelessly outnumbered by human forces that had appeared throughout their territory. Commander, Admiral Robinson said, turning to Velinash, your species has a choice to make. The old galactic order is ending. The question is whether your people want to be part of building something better, or if they want to cling to a system that was already failing. Velinash looked at the display showing Human D.